I don't know if you've ever been self-conscious with your appearance. Maybe you find yourself hiding, or maybe you just feel like shit all the time, that you avoid, social interactions or certain things, and it makes every single day much more challenging. That was an experience a lot of my clients go through, but one particular where he found himself almost, instead of taking control and enjoying life, he found himself kind of hiding, right? Hiding behind his clothes, not wanting to take his family to the beach. When it came to certain social gatherings, he'd be kind of almost not in the corner, but just kind of just kept to himself, right? And then the same way when he led his team, he kind of wasn't really taking a stand for himself and speaking up how he should. And anyways, that used to be him. And long story short, he committed to saying, you know what, I'm no longer willing to tolerate this anymore. And so we started working together. And through the time of us working together, he ended up losing 40 pounds. His energy is through the roof. He finally no longer, hides in certain things, especially when taking his family to the beach or going to enjoy things. Speaking of enjoy things, right now I'm actually with a client, a different client out in Utah right now. Just look at those mountains back there. Can you see that? Anyways, back to it. He found himself initially hiding, but then eventually thriving. Well, one social scenario in particular was where he went to a wedding recently, where he said, I went to this wedding, and before I would have been so uncomfortable at the fact that everyone was dancing, right? He's like, I would never even consider myself a dancer, but just the way that I felt, the way that I looked, that just added to it. And it almost frustrated me when I saw people dancing, right? It's like, how can you be frustrated at that? But I get it, right? When you're feeling a certain way, it's very hard, and you find yourself being held back from certain activities, even though others are enjoying themselves. It's hard to really even fathom what that enjoyment was, and then what that joy is and what it feels like. But flash forward to now, he said, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines anymore. Felt good about himself, got up, started dancing, right? Had a really good time, and not only that, people started noticing. They're like, man, what have you been doing? You look incredible. You look nowhere near like the guy you used to look. They meant it in a loving way. It was all these accolades. And he said, what's funny? He's like, it felt really good to get those accolades and those compliments. And he said, those have actually been coming in the last few months in terms of people at work saying, what have you been doing and everything like that. But he's like, one thing I noticed is that the compliments weren't as many as they were in the beginning, right? It's like because when people knew him a certain way, all of a sudden he started making a change. Instantly, it's like, whoa, what are you doing? But as time goes on, people started getting used to, okay, that's just what he's been doing, and he's continued doing it. And obviously at the wedding, he saw new people. Anyway, as he was getting complimented, he was saying that the accolades aren't as much as before. And I said, yeah, guess what? They're not going to be. Because when you make this your norm, and you stop doing it based off of the validation and feedback of others, right? And this becomes who you are, the impact will be much greater. And he said, you know what? You're absolutely right. He said, my son actually keeps to himself a lot. Doesn't, when he does certain things, he'll try certain things first before he kind of shares with me, or shares with him, my client. And he was saying that someone actually, his daughter, saw his son doing push-ups later in the night. And I said, you see, that right there is the impact that you're making. That goes beyond the accolades, that goes beyond the compliments, that goes beyond everything. That right there is you're leading by example, and your son is starting to follow in your footsteps. And so why do I share this with you? Well, I understand how easy it can be to want to get started, and you hear those compliments and use accolades, right? Boost the ego a little bit. It feels good, right? But I'm going to encourage you to not do it for that. It's easy to want to do that. Go make it. If you want to transform yourself in terms of how you feel in the mirror, how your clothes fit, how your energy is, think about the impact that you're making. Think about it like tossing a stone in the water, right? What happens when you toss a stone? You skip it, right? And all starts creating these ripples. The ripple effect just carries across the pond or the lake. It's the same thing in this scenario. You're the rock, and you start taking care of yourself. And yeah, the accolades will come, those will be nice. But if you keep going and people start seeing it, that's just who you are. They see you, that's your new norm. Then the impact, the ripple effect will start becoming much greater. People on your family will start following in your footsteps. People that you lead on the work front will be inspired by you, and you'll start making a massive reactive chain reaction and ripple effect across the board. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you because I know how easy it is to get started on something. You hear the compliments, that's easy to get it going, but if it goes beyond you and you have that meaning and you create that ripple effect, it's gonna be much more powerful. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Until next time, I'm out.